Today's event is a historic collaboration with 3 Hispanic-serving organizations coming together who represent business, culture, and community service. The Hispano Philanthropic Society, Albuquerque Hispano Chambers Women in Business, and the National Hispanic Cultural Center Foundation are thrilled to have a panel of Hispanic women who tell our stories in celebration of Women's History Month. But first, this event wouldn't be possible without the help and support of our sponsors. So thank you to Sandia National Labs, the Albuquerque Journal, and the National Hispanic Cultural Center. We appreciate all of your support. Our moderator, Raquel Benavidez. She's the chair of the Hispano Chambers Women in Business and the owner of BienLoca Industries.
Thank you everyone for being here with us. So I'm just gonna let everyone know right off the bat, I'm very casual, so this is gonna be fun. We're gonna laugh, and I'm about audience engagement. So don't be surprised if I just make you stand up and shake a little bit. But we want to have fun and we want to engage. We want this to be our authentic conversation about how we got here, what we're doing, and how we're just basically kicking butt. Like, we're just dominating. We're so on fire. We just really came out of COVID in a whole new space. We're just on fire. So we're here to all share our stories. I'll start by introducing, excuse me, because I need my cliff notes. So I'm going to introduce Arian Gonzalez, and we only have one mic, guys, so there's no space when we're sharing mics here. Arian Gonzalez, who is the president of Cervantes Food. She has over 30 years of experience. Obviously, she's broken glass ceilings for all of us to be here. These are the ladies we all have to acknowledge. I'd like to be that for my daughter and for our younger girls. We all just keep making it better and better, so she can definitely attest and share to that. And then we have Jadira, who is the Curator and Visual Arts Program Manager here at the Cultural Center. Yes. And, see, I need my glasses, girls. I'm going to blame that on COVID, too. So her curator works and engages themes of race, gender, pop, cultural, social justice, and the roles of museums in building community and shaping national discourse, which is amazing. We have to get back to our roots and really recognize where we're at. And then, last but not least, is my girl Cilena Trujillo. She has her own beautiful story. She's the founder of Jump Into School Bash, and also has her own company, Boss Swear. And she makes a positive impact of her organization. It provides fun, safe, supportive environment for children to prepare for the school year. So we have 3 diverse women, because this is what we do, and this is part of the collaboration. And just giving, we all get here through different pathways, but we get here. And so this is the thing. We really want to be women that can be women. We don't want to go into the workplace anymore, and I say this over and over, and I'm going to continue to say it. Men, we love you, but we want to be women. And we want to be that in the workplace too. We don't want to have to go into the workplace and act like men. So we want to bring our own unique and authentic aspects, and that's what we're here to do, that's what we're here to share. So who wants to take the first question? Does anybody have any opening remarks they'd like to share? Or you want to just dive in? Just dive in. So our wonderful Ernest, who is like so organized and everyone needs someone like him in their life, he created these beautiful questions for us. I don't know if we're going to get through all of them, but I'm going to just allow the women to answer what you want, what you feel comfortable with. If you guys have any questions in between, let's just go for it and kind of ask. We have the Q&A at the end, but if something comes in the middle of questions, just let us know, okay? So the first question is, when you think of success that you've enjoyed in your career, what individuals or experiences have inspired you to get this far in your professional life? I think I'm going to swing this to you.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Buenos días, amigos y amigas. Qué bien, bienvenidos. What's inspired me, or who has inspired me? You know, I think that I have to say that a number of people have inspired me. My dad, who was a pilot, and a very ferocious and fierce champion of women. In fact, he took care of me as a single father from the time I was 2 till I was 12. My daughters have inspired me. Both my daughters are extremely educated. I'm so proud of that because It's been a preparation for life. But that's been on their own accord too. That's not been because I forced them into any type of career or any type of path. That has been because they wanted to do that. They wanted to do that. My husband is passionate about women in business. He has to work with me 7 days a week. Okay, actually we work 6, but it's like being a full-time, 7-day-a-week job, because even when we're not physically in our manufacturing facility, we're at home talking about business, talking about future, talking about legacy, and he is definitely a champion of women in business, women entrepreneurs, just all that involves women.
How many of you guys have partners that you work with? Because that's a whole big identity too. How many of you have partners that you work with at your businesses or? Okay. A little bit less than that.
So, and it can be a unique challenge to work with your husband, One thing, you have to have a work-life balance. It can be very challenging. There are days where you just have to say, okay, enough is enough. Let's not talk about work anymore. Let's talk about going on to our cabin. Let's talk about whatever is exciting for, that person. So you do have to kind of cut it and say, okay, work is great. We work together, but let's just, bring it down a notch. Other mentors, my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, I don't know if any of you know this, but she was the founder, is still the owner of Cervantes restaurant. And she was one of the sort of, pioneer women business owners and liquor license holder, by the way, when it came to owning her own restaurant. And that too was not an easy endeavor. So all these individuals, I think, have created a tapestry for me as I've gone through my business life. And have been mentors, and one day they can be a mentor, one day they can be, shoulder to cry on, one day they can be somebody to embrace and love, because of your success that you've had in that moment. So there are a lot of different people that I think have touched my business world.
Thank you. So I feel like all of us could probably attest to the fact that it sometimes seems like the lows are a lot more often. And those are the people that we need when we're like struggling and we're having that bad day. And it's just like, why is it that the struggle seems a lot more sometimes? And that's when we need our mentors and the people that are encouraging us. Okay, next one, I'm going to give this to you, Jadira. This one is, can you describe a time when you were working in a male-dominated field? What tactics and skills did you use to ensure your opinions were heard? This will be interesting because I know we've all been in those board.
Well, I think it's probably somewhat fair to say that many fields are male-dominated fields. And I also have a background in service industry, so I waited tables for many years while I was in college and before I came here to the center. So a range of different scenarios. I don't know that I have any particular tactic to share about this, but a lot of it has had to do with some kind of personal coaching around that it's okay to speak up, it's okay to share my voice, it's okay to let people know when problems are happening and trying to create space to talk about it and to change some of the dynamics. So I think a lot of it, and probably you're going to hear that from me quite a bit today with these questions, but these are really personal questions, I think. That a lot of it had to do with how I coached myself or found mentors and support systems to make sure that I was walking into a space being my voice is okay, I can speak up.
Mm-hmm. Did you have, just a follow-up question, so what in those positions, what were the feelings you had that you couldn't share your voice? Was it something in particular that?
Again, the range of these things are really varied from pretty intense sexual harassment in some of my workplaces to places where I could just tell I was being easily dismissed. So the strategies around that are really different depending on what the circumstances are. I think there's times where if we're feeling easily dismissed, we can sort of internalize that and be like, did I not say it the right way? Are my ideas not good? And really being able to come back to a place of trusting, yourself and checking in with other people who've been through similar things and coming out being like, no, what I'm saying is important. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So I think
And
that's
in other instances, there's like serious problems that
Yeah.
have to be addressed in the workplace.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a big deal. I think we have to debrief. That's a big tool for us, right? Because as women, we're just happen to be more intuitive. I don't know why. I don't know what our bodies do. It's just they call it a women's intuition. I don't even need the mic. Can everybody hear me? Okay, I know. I'm like, are we good? So this is something too, but like in these situations, why our voice has been diminished because we doubt our intuition. And we're told we're crazy instead of smart and intuitive. So I think that's a big takeaway. Like check in with women and men that you trust. Like, is that what I thought it was? And just, it's okay. Like have people that you trust around you that you can go and check in with. And then, then you can come from a mutual, respectful place. Yeah. Okay. Just so. Okay. Next is you, Chica. Let me see what this one. Luck of the draw. Let's see what happens with it. This one says, okay, how can you expand your women's links to each other, i.e., for example, mentorship, coaching, networking, and are you directly involved in empowering women? This is an easy question for you, sister. I know. Okay.
So through Bossware, I really do try to empower women a lot through helping them feel better about themselves, their bodies. I've actually had to deal with my own confidence issues, my own self-esteem issues, and so what I've kind of done with Bossware is provided an environment for women that helps me in particular. So what would help me, I help other women. So it's like, and as I'm helping other women, I help myself. And so what makes me feel so good about that is that women come to me afterwards and they tell me that I've changed things that they did, that now they're doing things different now, and because of me, now they feel confident within their bodies, and it feels so amazing to do that. And then I also did the Jump in a School Bash for the kids as well. I grew up in the foster system, in and out of the foster system, and so I really understand the struggles of children growing up like that with kids that don't have their parents or have been put in different foster homes. There's not really, in most foster homes, there's not a lot of love. They're just getting bounced from one place to another. And so through Jump in a School Bash, I really provide that kids could feel loved and special and important. And so that's why on this day, we really make them feel just important. It's dedicated to them this whole entire day. And it's an amazing event. So, yeah, that's how we do it.
Yeah. And this is, Cilena, this is her first speaking event, so I just want us all to just acknowledge her and clap for her because this is a very big day. We each have our personal glass ceilings, right? Like things that we're so afraid of. And so we've gone over questions, and so I'm really, really proud of you today, girl. Good for you.
You got this, Cilena.
Yes. So she's doing great. Okay, so let's see. Can you describe a time when you championed yourself in a promotional decision, job, interview, or salary negotiation? And how did you prepare for this, and what tactics did you use to secure a positive outcome for yourself? Jadira, I kind of feel like this might be one for you. Okay.
Well, I created my own segment with my previous answer.
There you go.
So one of the things that I'll say I've been really lucky with is that I started here at the National Hispanic Cultural Center as an intern back when I was doing my undergrad. And so I've been kind of on and off volunteering here for years, and then I was able to get hired in 2016. So this is sort of like a place I've had my dreams set on for a really long time, and I was able to kind of make that happen. But I will say that over the course of that time, a lot of that was informed by me having really strong mentorship here, and there's been so many amazing women leaders to be at this institution over the years, and so again, a lot of it became about coaching around trusting myself, trusting my own potential, and also developing skill sets. So then when I get into an interview, I think it really had a lot to do with me walking in there and being like, I deserve this. And not more so than other qualified candidates, but I'm definitely one of the people that deserves this job when I walk into the room. And the confidence to really just share everything I'm bringing to the table. And in some ways I have, this is changing a lot in museums now, but you know, I have the kind of more traditional art history background, but I also, by the time I went to graduate school, I was studying completely different subject matter, which for a little while I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm qualified and I know how to do this work. But what I realized is actually that was a huge strength that I was bringing to the table of having this different perspective and really thinking about the things that sometimes we think they're weaknesses when we're going into an interview. But if we can think about them, it's really like there's strengths in a lot of ways when we're bringing that range of perspective. So yeah, I've just been lucky to be able to be at the center for a long time now.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So on that note, we're going to talk, I just want to mention a little bit. So I don't know how many of you know this, but Latinas have to work until December 8th to make it all across the field of the same year to make what their Anglo counterpart male makes by January 1st. So when we're talking about just not advocating for the positions, ladies, like we need to talk about getting paid for the positions. Because we are so excited to be there. We're so excited to have our dream job. And then something else comes and we're not negotiating for ourselves. So talk to your colleagues. And the men, they want to help too. It's not like they're like, sometimes they're shocked. They're like, wait, they paid you what? I got paid this. How are you getting paid that? And he's like, well, I asked for it. And I'm like, I didn't ask for it. Like, and he will literally, like my guys, they'll literally say, well, I asked for it. What do you mean? And I'm like, I was just excited for my job.
I just want to reiterate that because I think that's such an important point is being able to ask other people what they're making and if we can have wage transparency with each other, because sometimes you're getting offered something and if it's your first time trying for that job, you may not know that you're not getting offered by far with other people unless you're talking to people.
Yeah. And they always post that range, right? It's always like range based on experience. So right away we go with that too. So yeah, we're gonna have an event on that too, December 8th. The Women in Business is having a payday event, so we're gonna have lots of conversations about that too, so.
Oh, yes. I just wanted to add, one of the things that I always recommend is always ask for the top. Because you can always figure out something in between. If you ask at a minimum or at a space that you feel like it's not quite, it's barely above, you can negotiate a little bit further down, but it's really tough to negotiate up. So as a basics of a negotiation, ask for the full boat. And if you get it, awesome. If you get slightly less, you're still ahead of the game.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so true. So I'm gonna give you this question.
Oh.
So this one, and I think you, just hearing your history, you had a lot of support. So you had a lot of people that were way ahead of the game before. I had a great auntie that moved to California, and it was like that. So we've been making a difference. It's just now we're really seeing it in masses. We kind of hit this tipping point. But this one is, like, what differences did you notice in today's Hispanic working women organized things like this? We didn't have these 10 years ago. We didn't have this 20 years ago, you know. But compared to the past, so versus when you first started your company and being at those tables and negotiating for those distribution contracts, I'm sure, right?
Right. Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that, because I was going to say, hey, by the way, will you ask me this question?
I found it. See my intuition?
One of the things is, I read a book a long time ago called Maria Paradox, and it is a book that really kind of gave a history of how many Hispanic women didn't venture out into the work world or the business world because they felt like their obligation, one, they didn't have family support from the time they were little, or two, because they felt like their obligations were to their families, that they had to raise the kids and be there, échame las tortillas, and make sure you've got dinner on the table when I walk in the house. I am seeing a huge shift, and I'm seeing that women now can have their tortillas and eat them too, okay? They don't have to make them, they can buy them. I mean, let's maximize our resources. They can also enjoy and raise a family. Again, we talked about work-life balance. Sure, you're going to spend plenty of time at your business, but then there are times, and these guys saw it firsthand, where I had to make a call and said, I've double booked, my grandkids are coming or leaving, and I need to be with them, you know. So you can have the best of all those worlds. And I really feel now that women are starting to understand how to get there. Our abuelas, maybe not so much. They were a little bit more in tune to let's just be at home. Then the next generation started to venture out. And also just through education. Getting that, and when I say education, yes, I may relate to just to going to college, grad school, doing that. But education comes in many forms. Many forms. You can get hands-on education, you can get training, you can get, but never stop wanting to learn. Even at this, and I'm very proud of the fact I'm going to be 65 years old, but I don't stop learning. To me, it's important to stay even or a little bit ahead and be prepared. That's the other thing I've always said to women business owners, and as they develop themselves, be prepared. When you walk into a room where you're sitting at the table, and you've earned a seat. They haven't given it to you. You've earned a seat at that table. Be prepared and understand what it takes to get to where your goal is. Because when you come in unprepared, and you come in where you don't feel like, you're second guessing yourself, do I really have what it takes to do this? Then that's where things start falling apart. So I don't know if I answered that question.
No, you did, yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. Oh, you'll just...
Because I think you mentioned the work-life balance quite a bit, and this is something that I've been thinking a lot about because I also have been talking to other women who are like, and this is, I think, a phrase that comes up for a lot of people, depending on their life experiences, is that they feel like they have to work twice as hard to get the same opportunities. So working twice as hard and having a family and doing all of these other things actually is a huge amount of work that we're asking people to do. And so I've been thinking a lot about how do we implement self-care practices? What does that look like as a supervisor of staff to be able to hold space with my staff members who have a majority women staff, to do all of those things, to get prepared, to feel like we're bringing it to the table, but also take care of ourselves. And I don't think that's an easy answer, and certainly not a one-size-fits-all thing, but I think your point there is a really important point to talk about.
And have the confidence to say, I can do this, and maybe I don't want to work 12 hours today, Get what you need done, get it done, and out the door we go.
Yeah. This next question, I think each of these questions, Ernest, we probably could have just had a straight conversation on each one of these, all for the 45 minutes. These are great questions. So this one, I'm gonna give to you, Cilena, and this one says, given the diversity in New Mexico, I think we kind of take our diversity for granted. And I don't know if we're as diverse as we think we are, but we have a strong Hispanic culture. I mean, the National Hispanic Cultural Center is here, right? So we're not in an English-dominated, but we don't have a high Asian or a high, African American. We don't. So we're diverse in certain ways where it's more comfortable for us as Hispanics to have this conversation and be in a room filled like this. But I think that's kind of something we need to not take for granted. But it says, what are you seeing with regards to racism in the workplace? And this is prejudice in general. This is, racism is a strong word, but just our biases, our prejudices. And how does your respective organization deal with, prejudice if it's brought to your attention? And I think this is great because you do Jumpstart program. That's exactly. So if you can, you feel good?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a little hard. So I personally have felt like I've been in prejudice situations growing up just because we were on Medicaid, stuff like that. And even today, sometimes I go into some places and I feel like I don't get served like the other person does, and it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
But that's why, and I know way that I did. That's why through Jump Into School Bash, I kind of try to reach those type of kids, the low-income children, the low-income families who get treated differently. And so I used that event to make them all feel special. So, but yeah. Did I answer it?
Yeah. You ladies would like to add? I know it's a big topic, right?
Well,
Here.
it's one of those things that if you have and set a corporate culture within your organization, and as a small business, being at the head of that, along with my husband, the culture is such that we don't tolerate that. We respect everybody. We appreciate everyone for what their skill set. Maybe not always, where we think they need to be, but then you allow them or provide them with more training so that they can get where they are. But I think a lot of it has to do with corporate culture. Now, I, for various reasons, decided to become a small business owner. Big corporate to me is not my cup of tea. I was there for a number of years, but decided, nope, if I have a small business, I can make greater changes and greater decisions than sort of just moving up the ladder.
Yeah,
and
I felt that too.
Yeah, and so I think that the corporate culture is huge.
So honestly, you just basically went into your own private sector to be able to make the changes so you could create the company cultures. How many business owners are here? Okay, and then how many are in C-levels? How many are actual in the workplace environment? How many ladies? I mean, you guys need to raise your hands a little bit higher. Because I'm lower. I feel like I'm like this looking up at you guys. Okay, so a lot of workplace things. I want to ask the audience, what are you guys seeing in the workplace? Because I think all of us kind of created our own spaces.
Yeah.
So what are you guys seeing in the workplace? Lendra, I'm going to ask you. I see you here in my direct line of fire.
What was the question?
What do you see in the workplace in regards to your insurance, your office? What are you seeing that's different right now with all of these, stereotypes?
Well, what I'm seeing is that there's a lot more support in my industry coming from, males, females, in different, everyone coming from different backgrounds. I think everybody's more open to collaborating, sharing experiences, mentoring each other, and helping each other grow. I feel like that's the new trend. I help you, you help me. Let's talk about what you're doing, how you're growing your business, what can I implement into my business that you're doing that might help me. In my industry, there's a lot of, I've been networking a lot with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different businesses, and so that has helped me get a better understanding of what I need to do to have a healthy work environment for my employees and for people to come and show up and feel welcome. That's my biggest thing, being that I came from an industry that was, and is very competitive. So a lot of times you didn't feel welcome. And so my biggest mission was to make everyone, no matter where they came, to feel welcome and wanted in the room. And so I see a lot of that change happening now, just the acceptance and the love from everybody.
Yeah. So I have to give a shout out. I'm gonna give a shout out to you too, Anna. So yes. So Lucinda is a corporate company and she's here 2 tables strong. We love that. Yes. So we're seeing the change. We're here. We're witnessing. That's a beautiful thing. She has 10 women here listening about how to empower themselves and listening to others. So congratulations. That's a big deal. And this is what happens when we get into different positions of influence. I don't like calling it power, but when we get into positions, we're kind of like, hustle, hurry, the door's open, let's go, how many, and then that's how we start to make the changes. So that's awesome. Okay, so this next one. What is one thing you know now about women and work you wish you had known earlier in your career? Cilena, you're nodding your head. Okay, you take this one, girl. Take it.
So I'm seeing a lot of women start their own businesses now. And I know I was...
Even some of these girls had not been out of their city. Like, we had friends from Albuquerque that hadn't been to Santa Fe. And I was like, what the hell, I commute to Santa Fe what do you mean? So I was like, well, let's take a trip to Santa Fe, let's go to Museum Hill. People travel from around the world for something that is 45 minutes away and nada, you know? And so I think just expanding their perspectives, but we have to consciously do that. And it doesn't always mean like the business development, it doesn't always mean like go for your career, it's just broadening them to something new. Like, we would go out for Valentine's Day dinners, and we would go out to restaurants that I probably couldn't afford, but I wanted to give my daughters and her friends like a different experience. And so just consciously, I think if we do that and just open them up to, like, yes, we love our frijoles and tortillas, but there's so much more out there. Like, there is a lot out there. So when you can go out of your community, you bring so much more back to your community. It enriches your community. So we don't have to stay isolated. I think that's one of the big things we have to teach all of our youth. Like, isolation and tribalism is no longer where it's at. We have to have a broader level of just appreciation and acceptance for one another. And that's what really enriches us and allows us, you know, to really evolve. Who wants to take this, another one? I can help this one. This is, please talk about ways we can support, empower, and grow the next generation of female leaders. Okay. See, now you're wanting to talk, Cilena. I see you. Fine.
When it comes to that, I really have a passion and I have compassion for others. And so I really think that, so I look at myself when answering that because I needed me.
Yeah.
And so when I see a little girl struggling or a little boy, like I really try to inspire them. I think some kids going through certain issues with certain living situations, they don't get told how important they are. They don't get told that they can do it. Like, don't give up. They don't get told things to keep them going. And so I really make it a point to encourage people. I really make it a point to tell women, no, don't give up. You can do this. Like, you're good at, and I really offer help a lot for things like when I do photo shoots, like this Friday I'm doing one, I welcome people, I invite people that may be struggling. I can see when women are struggling with themselves, so I ask, come, we're doing a photo shoot. Put on some of my boss wear, feel like a boss, and you're gonna get on the camera. I hired a photographer, and I have some girls that, plus size girls don't really like to get in front of the camera, but I'm trying to pull them out, like, you are beautiful in your skin, you really are. So I really try to pull that out, because I really just try to be the person that I needed. And so we really just gotta be an inspiration to others. Say nice things to people, tell me nice today. Like, I always try to talk to people, wherever I'm at. Oh my God, I love your hair, or whatever. Like, just say nice things, just be a nice person, be kind. So I think that goes a long way.
It does. It really does.
I'll add to that, I guess, because I think that, everyone in this room with the range of skill sets that are in here has the opportunity to mentor somebody or to connect somebody with something. And again, for me, mentorship was just completely transformational to not just learning the day-to-day logistics of doing my work, but also understanding how that work fits into a much larger mission. Around equity, around talking about culture, around, I think, kind of expanding that appreciation we can have for everyone. And I think even just hearing from these women up here, right, we're all bringing different things to the table, but also all trying to be really accessible to the next generation of people who just need a phone call, need to talk through a problem. And those problems might be like, I'm having, a struggle with writing this cover letter, to I need a letter of recommendation, to I am having a really difficult experience in a class and I feel like I'm not being heard. Like, all of those things, I think, making ourselves accessible to just lend a perspective is really helpful.
Yeah. Raquel, thank you for, I gotta give her a shout out because she knows how nervous I was to get up here, and she called me, texted me, checked on me.
She's not nervous anymore.
I'm not nervous.
Shannon is back there and still on her phone. Because women in business was her baby, it was her child, and so we're all doing the best to just carry the torch. Yes. So I wanted to be here. We've been friends since we were hijas. And this is how it goes. This is part of our culture. This is the benefit of it. This is the fun part of it. So it is definitely a level of our cultura. We naturally do that, right? Okay, so I've been told we have time for one more question. Let me see which one I want to pick. Okay, let's go to our men. What are ways in which men can be good allies? I think part of the story to all of our successes is we've had great men too. Like I have wonderful men in my life. And like what do we need to engage and inspire more male advocates? I would say like there's not even like an engagement. Like we love them, they love us. Like it's just a balance. And I think we're kind of getting to that space. But I think each of you have like men that have supported and changed, whether they're fathers, husbands, all of that thing. So let's each just share about the awesome men in our lives too.
Well, as I mentioned, my husband is also my business partner. And we are a little bit of fire and ice. I think if you asked my daughter, she would agree with that. Her dad's very calm, cool, and collected. I tend to be a little fiery. And so, but we complement one another. And he and I don't view each other as competitors, but as a team, a partnership. And the end goal is a shared goal. Not what does Arian want to do, what does Richard want to do, it's a shared goal. And how do we build that into a legacy for our family? We want to do well ourselves, but how can we create a foundation for our kids and our grandchildren to do even better? Whether it be business owners in their own prospective fields, what is it that we can do to assist and mentor and create that foundation? So yeah, now where he's sitting here, he might be rolling his eyes. But no, he, again, business partners and husband and wife as a family business can be a very dynamic situation. Always moving, always moving. But at the end of the day, you agree to disagree. You come to a consensus. It's not all about who's right and who's wrong. It's what's the best for the given thing. Yes.
Yes, I absolutely agree on, I think it's very important to thank the support of the men we've had in our lives. My father's been an amazing support system, worked multiple jobs and going to school to make sure our needs were met. Helps me now with translations and all kinds of things. Certainly my partner is like, he's the person I get to go home to and process the whole day with and feel supported with, and that's amazing. But in regard to the question of allyship, I think, especially from a cultural studies perspective, there is, because it also relates to the question of like racism in the workplace and sexism, and when we're thinking about the hierarchies that require women to break a glass ceiling to get an opportunity, I think there's certainly an element of bringing some empathy to the table, trying to understand other people's experiences, but there's also like a wealth of resources out there, and that's one of the things I say is I'm like, it's not wrong to go pick up a book and do some self-education, because also a lot of us have had to do that too. Just because we have an experience doesn't always mean we have the language to articulate it or the skill set to advocate for it. So there's a lot of teaching ourselves and learning from other people that happens. And so I would say if you are a person who identifies as a man and you really want to like support the cause, then I would say, go read some of the books, and I can recommend a list of things. And then, it really then fosters discussion and shows that everybody's bringing effort to the table. And I think that's part of how we come up together, regardless of our gender, how we identify, is really thinking about the range of experiences and how we can support each other and do work.
I would say my husband too. I got 4 amazing men in my life, my 3 sons and my husband, and they're always there for everything that I'm doing. They're always, they're my muscle. I call them my muscle. Every time I'm setting up for something, they're the ones there, and I make them wear all my shirts with my logo and a Yeah, they're always there. You check my social media, they're always there supporting me. My husband, because running a business, it's not easy. My husband's been in business for 30 years. We have a successful company that he's worked his butt off for, him and his brothers. And so he understands when I'm getting frustrated because it's just me. He's always like emotional supportive. My kids not so much, they're boys. They're just like, Mom, why are you crying? You don't understand, just leave me alone. But yeah, my husband, you know, it's really my husband and my boys that are so supportive and are there for me. He's my ally. I'm his storm, he's the calm. So, yeah.
So I think we're ready for Q&A. Any thoughts? Anything that's kind of hit a nerve? Would someone like to even share a story? I see the ladies like nodding. Can I see you in the corner? Could you sneak in the back? Yeah, come on.
So,
Did you stand?
Yes.
yes.
Thank you,
So,
Patricia.
my name is Rose, and I've been in the world of work many, many decades. But my question is, what do y'all think about reaching out to the youth at the schools? What happens? What is happening? Could something happen at the high schools or middle schools?
Well, I think, Cilena, you want to take this because it's like your whole program when you're starting and working with the kiddos?
So I'm sorry, like reaching out to them.
Like with programs or?
So speaking about leadership or planting those seeds for the youth to, I can do that too, the bossware or the...
You should start that.
Yeah.
The what?
Start that. You could start that.
I'm ready to retire right now.
Well, you can just promote us.
Right.
You can get the gigs.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, we have these leadership conferences, American Business Women's Association that I used to go to many decades ago too. But what about the youth? You know, could elementary, middle school, high schools, just touching that, planting that seed. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's very important. Lots of resources for them at the event for different things. So yeah, reaching the youth is very, very important. Getting into HPS to talk is not that easy, but I'm working on that.
Okay.
I will be in the school soon.
Thank you.
Cilena,
Yeah.
could you describe what the Jump into Bash is for those of us that don't know about it?
Yeah, so I started the Jump Into School Bash 3 years ago. We started at a half-acre parking lot. I did my first event there. We bring in like 300 people. The kids had a blast. We had the sheriff's department. I bring in like a lot of people who donate their services, sponsors who want to provide activities for the kids. And it was a success. We had face painters, we had the SWAT. It was pretty cool. And the second year, we had it at we moved up to 10 acres. Can you imagine from a half an acre to 10 acres? Like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this space? So what we do, what I'm working on, because you know, planning these big events, they get better as they go. Every year they get better. This year we want to provide more value to the kids. I want the kids to know that there's other options out there for them instead of the violence that they see every day. So I'm bringing in, I bring in football players, the SWAT, APD, Sheriff's Department, Bernal County, the rescue. They bring their canines and they interact with the kids to show kids like, look, these are other things that you can do. I have my vendors interact with the kids with activities, teaching, learning, science, stuff like that. So we give them lots of stuff. We give them tons and tons of school supplies. We want to give clothes, hygienes to the kids so that they can go to school feeling confident, you know. So yeah, it's just a fun, and I make it very, very fun. Very, very fun for them. And it's just literally all about the kids. Games, we do competitions, and everything's free. So the kids don't have to pay for anything. We have photographers there. We have the canine dogs walking around so that they interact with the kids. They talk to the officers. And it's very powerful for the kids so that they could come home and have think about things that they want to do in the future, because there's so much bad going on in the world and we just need so much more positivity. So I'm filling up this 10 acres with people to just be a complete inspiration to the kids. And so, yeah, there's actually some people here that are a big part of the bash. Anita's one of them. She has been a part for 2 years already, and they just really are invested. And the women in business, they're invested in it this year too. And it's just, I love bringing also businesses together, the community together, just everyone get out of the comfort zone and coming to be a blessing to these kids. Like, these kids need us. You guys have no idea how much it makes me want to cry when I talk about it. These kids need us, you guys. They really, really need positivity in this world, and there's so much negativity, and I know that we can't change the world, but we could be the start.
And your date?
So this year it's July 29th. It's on a Saturday from 12 to 4. And it's at the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Posse, Alameda and 2nd Street. It's at the very beautiful location. Last year we had a helicopter and everything come in. So, and we are looking for sponsors. So if anyone would like to sponsor and bless this amazing event, we are raising money for the Locker 505 this year. But also services for the kids. We want to give free food, hot dogs this year to them. And so, yeah, if you guys are interested in being a part of it, sharing, get with me. I really want to bring as much kids and families to this event that we can.
So I'd like to respond to your question and also what you shared. My name is Krista Salazar. I'm from the College of Pharmacy at UNM. And so our students at UNM reach out to high school students, middle school students in Albuquerque and also across New Mexico to get them excited about getting involved not only in pharmacy, but we'd love them to join us in pharmacy, but in health sciences. Whether they want to be in occupational therapy or physical therapy, a physician, a nurse, dental hygiene. We have a health sciences center here that does so much, and so getting them to dream big in the medical space because our communities need medical. And I was just thinking about what you're doing, how can we maybe partner with the College of Pharmacy and getting academia to not be that daunting place or that place where only certain people go to school.
Exactly.
All kids in New Mexico should feel comfortable and experience going to UNM, but that should. It's not built in yet, and so beginning to build that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So that's a huge part, you guys. There's so much intersectionality. Like, that's why we did this collaborative. Like, it just makes sense. Like, we could all be out there on our own little drivers, but there's so much intersectionality. So partner and collaborate, and we are really good at that. I always kind of laugh because I was always told, oh, women, they're so catty and they fight. And then we got out of the house and I'm like, we really love each other because we're on La Lolas. We'll sit and talk about wine for 4 hours. We're changing. And it was like, oh, we're not as competitive as we thought we were. And so it's good. It's good to have good allyship. And it doesn't mean it's a lifelong marriage where you have to stay with that person, but we could have one event like this, and then you have another event like that, and you keep moving it around, and it keeps the energy flowing and fluid, and it grows, and it just flourishes. It's like planting little seeds all over, and then we have hundreds of rose bushes, So any other questions, or I think, any other questions, wrap-ups, comments? Yeah.
And you
want to get close to me.
Okay.
So you mentioned the word catty, and I was thinking about one of the questions you asked about what you would tell your younger self. And I think about the high school years and how women weren't supportive of each other and how there was this cattiness and competitiveness. And I don't know if this is a comment or a question, but is there something that can be done to kind of share with the younger generation that it gets better? As we get older, we learn to support each other, and maybe we can influence to do that at a younger age and not have this angst that you have as a young high schooler, 20-year-old, and you crave this, but you're not surrounded by it because it's kind of catchy.
So one of the things I did with the foundation is I was specifically creating that. So I was trying to get these girls in high school, and I put them in these really vulnerable, we did vision quests, and I did guided meditations, and then they had to share. And before they knew it, they were like, oh, okay, I really appreciate these women aren't judging me. And then they would kind of like look at each other, and I just put them in a different space. Because I don't know if we have any, sociologists or anything in here. There's something biological in our bodies. We're trying to procreate. So there's something that's happening in our bodies too that makes us compete. And so we have to give them the understanding to understand their bodies and what they're thinking, and then put them in an environment with other women where they're not competing and it's safe. But I think we just really have to create the space, and just do it. Like, we really just have to create the space. Because when I would tell my daughter individually, she was just rolling her eyes and be like, oh, Mom, that's what you're supposed to say, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know how your daughter was. I see her right there. Did you roll your eyes at your mama?
Probably. Very nice long.
But you're here now, right?
Here now, grown up.
Yeah. Do you want to add something? Raising a daughter?
Well, actually I've raised two.
Oh, okay.
And I have a granddaughter and two grandsons. But the expectation's all the same. It starts at home. It starts at home and introducing the element of respect. Respecting others. Looking for the positive, not pointing out the negative. Now, granted, was it 100% always that way? Probably not. Did Mom rule with a hard hand? Occasionally. I would say my daughter's probably saying more so than not. But it's the expectation and the consequence. It's like, okay, this is expected of you to behave or to do a certain thing. And if you start kind of at the family level, I understand not all children have the what we would say, the mom and dad situation. But if there are people like yourself that can create that foundation of respect, it goes a long way, and very much so. And so, like I said, with all my kids, as well as my grandkids, that's first and foremost.
As you were asking your question, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, I think people tried to tell me this when I was a teenager. And I was like, oh, whatever, I don't know. And my little sister is a middle school teacher, and she talks about this a lot, where she's like, God, I'm trying to get these kids to understand that, like, this moment will pass. They'll get to do something cool, and it's really difficult in the moment because, we can be kind of short-sighted and really involved in what's going on with us. I think for me, for personal experience, what you were talking about were things that really helped me as a young person. I struggled a lot as a young person for a variety of different reasons, and so, I think offering spaces where young women can come together, experience the non-competitive, non-judgmental environment, do things like guided meditation, which I think is like an amazing tool. But also then working to, make resources accessible, but destigmatize things like therapy and stuff like that. Because the range of issues that may lead to someone feeling like it's not going to get better can be pretty vast. And I think it's kind of like taking the whole village to bring our resources to young people to meet whatever their individual needs are. So I just want to say this has been amazing to hear from all of you, because I'm learning about so much important work that's happening.
So, I just think that we need to remind our kids and their friends, because my kids cannot bring their friends to my house without me telling them. They already know we're going to Cilena's. We got to be on our best behavior. But remind our kids that to be kind to everybody, because you never know what somebody else is going through. I got bullied in middle school, and I didn't go around telling everyone I just moved to my 5th foster home, but they didn't realize like the stuff that I was really going through. And I think if maybe we teach our kids to be more compassionate, they won't judge people so fast. And I was judged a lot, but nobody really understood what I was going through. I just came from my 3rd middle school, and so I really put it in my kids so hard that don't be mean to people, especially the ones that they see are being treated different. Like, you stick up for them, you go be their friend, you go sit with them, like, you don't leave nobody out. You have no idea what they're going through, so we need to remember that. strong team.
So with that, I think we'll wrap up, but Jadira, I think you have a little surprise for our team. Yes, okay.
So for anyone who is interested, I'll be offering a short tour of the art museum for free. So I'll just hang around, and anyone who's interested, come find me, and then we can walk over to the museum together. And I'll we have 2 exhibits up right now, so I'll walk you through both of those, and then give you a little taste of what's coming up.
How long?
I can really make it as long as people have in availability. So if you only got like 15 minutes, we can do a whirlwind tour. If you got a half an hour, we can do that.
Okay, so I think without further ado, we got our guy here. Yay, we gotta give him a big round of applause. Say the man that needs no introduction. So when we talk about male allies, it should really be his picture. He was really conscious. He created the questions for us and had us review them and say, hey, you know, what does this sound like to you guys? And you're a stellar ally, bud. Thank you. Yes.
Wow. Hi, we have a new
It's
recruit.
okay.
Good morning,
This
everybody.
is how we do it now, girl. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it. This is us.
Good morning, and wow, first of all, can we get a round of applause for our speakers? I just want to take a minute, given the auspicious nature of today and also the National Women's History Month, to honor one of the individuals that we've all come to know and love, Celia Cruz. I don't know if you know this, but there is a women's quarters program that was created by the U.S. Mint, and Celia will be featured on the U.S. quarter starting in 2024. And so, I also have some Celia music. It would take an hour to actually recite all of the awards that Celia has received. In 2016, she received a posthumous award, a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Recording Academy. The legacy goes on, and I know Raquel and I, one of the things we share, and I'm sure many of you in the room share, is we're both salseros. We love to dance salsa. We were dancing last night.
So we have open space.
So anywho, the tribute is to Celia. Join me in celebrating her life. I'm originally from New York. I grew up in the Bronx and in Manhattan, and Celia was a big part of my life. And so I'm glad that today I could be here with all of you and share that. So a round of applause for Celia. I know she's passing away. And then I'd like to invite Melissa Armijo to join me. She's our host here today, and we'd like to bring closure to our program with just a few more comments.
I would say that I'm the host. The National Hispanic Cultural Center is the host. So we thank you guys for being here. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Foundation, which we are in existence just to support the center and all their programming. I don't know how many of you know this, but the center is a state-run institution funded by the state for their salaries and their maintenance and the upkeep of this place, but they give them no money for programs, so that's why we're here. So me and Jadira work a lot together as a foundation, and so do the other program areas. So just wanted to give you that little information. Also, there's information on the back tables over there, some of the events that we have coming up at the center, and then also information about how you can support the foundation if you'd like. So I want to thank you all for being here and for coming out on this almost last day of Women's History Month, because we are badass chicks. And we're just so happy to support and be a partner in this entire series that you guys do all the time. And thank you again for coming. Come back. Make sure you take Jadira up on that tour, because she's an amazing tour guide, amongst other things. And yeah, please come back. Bring your families, bring your friends, tell everybody else. Oh, and our Maravilla Gala is this year, August 26th.
Oh, yes.
So make sure to put that on your calendar.